unemployment?
Right behind.
Congressman, I've heard an awful lot about the benefits of continuing the Bush tax cuts. That tax cuts will increase prosperity, will increase the likelihood that businesses will have the money to invest in people. I consider myself sort of an expert on this. I have been underemployed since January 26, 2009. In spite of diligent efforts to find work, I'm making $10 an hour part-time as a dishwasher. That's way less than a quarter of what I made. How are the tax cuts going to help me get a job that's going to enable me to pay the rent? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your question. I think you touched on two very important things, unemployment and, more importantly, underemployment. We look at the unemployment numbers here in New Hampshire, and most would suggest that our unemployment numbers are low, and that we're doing better than most of the country. But I hear stories like this one, where someone is underemployed, and their entire lifestyle changes as a result of it, and their obligations are affected as a result of it. And that's not right for any one of us. We live in a country where I believe we should be always having the opportunity to improve ourselves, to be responsible to our family. In terms of where we are economically at the national level, I think we've got to focus on getting back to balance. I'd like to see Congress serious about reducing some spending in some of the areas that we've talked about. But let me tell you what I'm doing in New Hampshire to talk specifically about jobs and to try to improve the job market. I sent out a survey about 2 or 3 weeks ago to... I'll be happy to answer the question. I mean, there was an agreement that was made in December by the President in the last Congress to extend certain tax cuts, and that's now extended for a couple of years. That's what happened in December. So now this Congress is in place, and we're grappling with the notion of how do we get our spending under control. The Gang of Six from the Senate is looking to come forward with a particular proposal. We haven't seen it yet, so until we see it, I couldn't comment on it. But there are ideas and solutions that are coming from the Senate. The House ideas have focused more on reducing spending and trying to even out, eliminate some tax loopholes, broaden the base, and make it fairer for people. But in terms of direct job opportunities here in New Hampshire, let me tell you what I'm doing so I can have direct impact on anyone who'd like the assistance. I sent out within the last 3 weeks to 1,000 businesses here in New Hampshire in the 1st Congressional District at random, asking them what it is that they wanted the federal government to do or not to do to not only ensure they could keep and retain their existing employees, but grow the business. Because we have people in our state, in our communities, who are being negatively impacted by the ongoing economic conditions that we have. We got several responses. We're going to continue to receive responses through the next month, but today I unveiled the results of those responses. And I have to say, and maybe some people here won't agree, but here's the responses I got. The majority of people wanted to see reduction in their taxes, and they wanted to see a reduction in regulatory requirements. They also wanted predictability. They also wanted predictability from the federal government on policy, so they could have an idea of what they were going to do with their business. They could get an idea of how they're going to grow their business. So, in the last few days, I visited businesses in the Seacoast, in the North Country, in Londonderry, Derry, Manchester. And I'm going to now, in June, hold 2 job forums, two job fairs. One here in the Seacoast and one up in the North Country. We try to match employers and individuals who either want to improve their position or if they're unemployed, try to get a position. I think that's important that I do my very best as your representative to bring you and bring those employers together that are willing to hire. During the job tour that I took in the last few days, I have met businesses you've been underemployed for far too long. The second thing I'm going to do is host the Manufacturers Summit. I think part of getting out of this economy is having a strong manufacturing industry. We have some competitive issues here in New England, particularly with electricity rates, as I continue to hear from manufacturers about a bit of a challenge for them. But nonetheless, they want to stay here because it's a great state, and the quality of life is phenomenal. The third and final thing I'm going to do in the fall is have an Innovators Conference. So if anybody in this room has an idea that they want to try to bring to market, but A, you may not have the resources to do it, you're not sure how to start, whether it's through a patent or a trademark, or you need some capital, whether it's from a bank or whether it's from an angel investor or venture capitalism, we can try to marry those two entities together. There are things that I can do on a policy level to try to steer the environment in which business can prosper, but there are also things that I can do here as your representative, and I'm going to take every opportunity to try to do that and give you the best opportunity to get back to the employment that you seek. And I'd be happy to go with you personally to these job fairs, whether it's out here or up north, and make sure that I do everything I can to put you in a better position. And I'd be happy to do that as your congressman.
Job fairs this year?
Next question is from